Document 4, Chapter 13. The Open Door Notes call for equal trade opportunity and China's independence, 1899 to 1900. The first Open Door Note. The government of Her Britannic Majesty has declared that its policy and its very traditions precluded it from using any privileges which might be granted it in China as a weapon for excluding commercial rivals, and that freedom of trade for Great Britain in that empire meant freedom of trade for all the world alike. While conceding by formal agreements, first with Germany and then with Russia, the possession of spheres of influence or interest in China, in which they are to enjoy special rights and privileges, more especially in respect of railroads and mining enterprises, Her Britannic Majesty's government has therefore sought to maintain at the same time what it is called the open door policy, to ensure the commerce of the world in China equality of treatment within said spheres for commerce and navigation. This latter policy is alike urgently demanded by the British mercantile communities and by those of the United States, as it is justly held by them to be the only one which will improve existing conditions, enable them to maintain their positions in the markets of China, and extend their operations in the future. While the government of the United States will in no way commit itself to a recognition of exclusive rights of any power within or control over any portion of the Chinese empire under such agreements as have within the last year been made, it cannot conceal its apprehension that under existing conditions there is a possibility, even a probability, of complications arising between the treaty powers which may imperil the rights insured to the United States under our treaties with China. This government is animated by a sincere desire that the interests of our citizens may not be prejudiced through exclusive treatment by any of the controlling powers within their so-called spheres of interest in China, and hopes also to retain there an open market for the commerce of the world, remove dangerous sources of international irritation, and hasten thereby united or concerted action of the powers at Peking in favor of the administrative reform so urgently needed for strengthening the imperial government and maintaining the integrity of China in which the whole Western world is alike concerned. It believes that such a result may be greatly assisted by a declaration by the various powers claiming spheres of interest in China of their intentions as regards treatment of foreign trade therein. The present moment seems a particularly opportune one for informing Her Britannic Majesty's government of the desire of the United States to see it make a formal declaration and to lend its support in obtaining similar declarations from the various powers claiming spheres of influence in China, to the effect that each in its respective spheres of interest or influence, first, will in no wise interfere with any treaty port or any vested interest within any so-called sphere of interest or leased territory it may have in China. Second, that the Chinese treaty tariff of the time being shall apply to all merchandise landed or shipped to all such ports as are within said sphere of interest, unless they be free ports, no matter to what nationality it may belong, and that duties so leviable shall be collected by the Chinese government. Third, that it will levy no higher harbor dues on vessels of another nationality frequenting any port in such sphere than shall be levied on vessels of its own nationality, and no higher railroad charges over lines built, controlled, or operated within its sphere on merchandise belonging to citizens or subjects of other nationalities, transported through such sphere than shall be levied on similar merchandise belonging to its own nationals transported over equal distances. The recent ukase of His Majesty the Emperor of Russia declaring the port of Talienwan open to the merchant ships of all nations during the whole of the lease under which it is to be held by Russia, removing as it does all uncertainty as to the liberal and conciliatory policy of that power, together with the assurance given this government by Russia, justifies the expectation that His Majesty will cooperate in such an understanding as is here proposed, and our ambassador at the court of St. Petersburg has been instructed accordingly to submit the propositions above detailed to His Imperial Majesty and ask their early consideration. The action of Germany in declaring the port of Kiaochao a free port and the aid of the imperial government has given China, in the establishment there of a Chinese custom house coupled with the oral assurance conveyed the United States by Germany that our interest within its sphere would in no wise be affected by its occupation of this portion of the province of Shantung, tend to show that little opposition may be anticipated from that power to the desired declaration. The interests of Japan, the next most interested power in the trade of China, will be so clearly served by the proposed arrangement, and the declaration of its statesmen within the last year are so entirely in line with the views here expressed that its hearty cooperation is confidently counted on.